You keep hearing two stories about AI and your job, and both of them are wrong. One says the robots are here and your career is over. The other says, relax, it's just a fancy autocomplete. Nothing's really changing. Here's the uncomfortable part. The actual 2026 evidence doesn't match either headline. AI isn't erasing whole jobs at scale yet. It's quietly hollowing out the tasks inside your job. And that gap is exactly where people are getting blindsided.
Welcome back to bitbiased.ai, where we do the research so you don't have to. Join our community of AI enthusiasts with our free weekly newsletter. Click the link in the description below to subscribe. You will get the key AI news, tools, and learning resources to stay ahead.
So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what the strongest research actually shows right now. Which jobs are genuinely under pressure, which ones are safer than the panic suggests, and why the headlines contradict each other. No hype, no doom. Just what the OECD, the ILO, the IMF, the BLS, and the best academic studies are really saying when you read past the scary number. Let's start with the one idea that everything else hangs on, the distinction that explains everything.
Here's the most important sentence in this entire video, so don't skip ahead.
A job is a bundle of tasks, and AI is coming for the tasks, not the bundle. That sounds like a small thing. It isn't. It's the reason a role can be highly exposed to AI and still survive perfectly fine. If AI takes over your scheduling, your summarizing, your first draft writing, your FAQ answering, your document sorting, that doesn't automatically delete your job. It might just change it. It might make the remaining tasks the valuable part. Or, and this is the quieter version, it might mean your company simply hires fewer new people into that role over the next few years, while never laying anyone off.
The OECD, the ILO, the IMF, and the U.S.
Bureau of Labor Statistics all make some version of this same point, just in different language. Task exposure is not the same thing as job loss. And once you internalize that, every confusing headline you've ever read about AI suddenly makes a lot more sense. If that reframe alone is useful to you, do me a favor and drop a comment with your job title. I'm genuinely curious how exposed this audience thinks they are, and we'll come back to that. The number that scared everyone.
Now let me give you the study that launched 1,000 panic articles. Because you've definitely seen the number even if you've never seen the source. Ilandu and her co-authors, work that later landed in Science, used human experts plus GPT-4 to score occupational tasks for how exposed they were to large language models. And their definition of exposed was actually pretty strict. Could the system cut the time to finish a task by at least half while keeping the quality? Under that bar, they estimated that roughly 80% of U.S. workers had at least 10% of their tasks exposed, and about 19% had at least half their tasks exposed. 80%. That's the number that got ripped out of context and turned into 80% of jobs at risk. But here's where it gets interesting. That's not what it means at all. Exposure is a measure of what the technology could touch, not a prediction of unemployment. And this is the exact trap I want you to stop falling into. Because once you see the difference between capability studies and what's actually happening studies, the whole debate stops feeling so contradictory. Studies that measure task capability show huge exposure. Studies that measure real labor outcomes so far show much smaller effects. Both can be true at the same time. And the space between them is filled with boring but decisive stuff. How fast companies actually adopt the tech. How workflows get redesigned. Regulation, pricing, consumer trust, and whether new demand shows up to absorb freed-up workers. Who's actually most exposed right now? Okay, so if exposure isn't destiny, where is the pressure genuinely real today? Almost every serious source points to the same place first: clerical and administrative work. The ILO's 2023 global study found that clerical work was the single broad occupation group with a really high concentration of highly exposed tasks. 24% of clerical tasks rated highly exposed, another 58% medium exposed, while most other occupation groups had only 1% to 4% of tasks in the high bucket. Their list of high automation occupations reads like a floor plan of a typical office. Typists, data entry clerks, inquiry clerks, hotel receptionists, bookkeeping clerks, contact center information clerks, secretaries. And the logic is brutally simple once you say it out loud. If your workflow is basically read, classify, summarize, enter, retrieve, respond, then current AI is already sitting right next to your desk. This isn't a future problem for that category. It's a now problem. The 2025 ILO update, which used a much richer dataset and expert validation, didn't walk this back at all. Clerical still topped the exposure rankings. So if any of that describes your day, stick around for the second half. Because the question stops being, am I exposed, and becomes, what do I do about it? And I've got a clear answer coming. Customer support, where theory meets the payroll. Customer support is the next big one, and it's where we finally step out of academic models and into actual workplaces. In one of the best field studies we have, more than 5,000 customer support agents, giving people a generative AI assistant raised productivity by 14% on average, and by a lot more for the least experienced workers. That's the textbook good news version. AI is a great equalizer, leveling up your newest hires. But here's the part that complicates the feel-good story. Klarna told Reuters that AI chatbots helped the company shrink its headcount and cut hundreds of jobs, while the bots handled more and more customer queries. So which is it? Augmentation or replacement? And the honest, unsexy answer is both, at the same time, in different companies. AI is making some customer service workers dramatically more productive and reducing how many of them some firms think they need. Anyone who tells you it's purely one or the other is selling you something. Notice that pattern, because it's going to keep showing up. Content, freelancing, and the strongest displacement evidence we have. Now, if you're a writer, a translator, a designer, or a freelancer doing modular, easy-to-specify digital deliverables, this next part is the one I'd pay closest attention to, because this is where the displacement evidence is genuinely strongest. A study of a large online freelance platform found that after ChatGPT launched, freelancers in the most affected occupations saw drops in both employment and earnings. The same paper found a similar pattern around the release of image generation models for visual work. Now, I want to be careful here, because bit-biased rule number 1 is don't overclaim. This does not prove that all writing or design jobs are collapsing across the whole economy. What it shows is narrower and more specific. Platform-based, piece-rate, taskized knowledge work. The kind that's easy to write a clean brief for is already taking a real hit. The ILO's high automation list even includes authors and related writers, which fits the pattern. The more standardized and repetitive the content, the earlier it gets exposed. If you do this kind of work, the move isn't panic. It's climbing toward the parts of the work a brief can't capture. I'll come back to exactly what that looks like at the end. The coding story everyone gets wrong. Let's talk about coding, because this is where the hype gets sloppiest, in both directions. Are routine coding tasks exposed? Absolutely. No argument. Boilerplate, test generation, debugging common patterns, documentation, refactoring. AI is already eating into all of it. And the ILO literally lists applications programmers among high automation potential occupations. So yes, the task exposure is real. But, and this is the part that gets conveniently skipped, has AI already caused a broad collapse in software developer jobs? The evidence says no, and it's not close. McKinsey argues generative AI will change how STEM professionals work, far more than it'll eliminate large numbers of them. BLS still projects software developers to grow strongly over the next decade. And a big Danish study tracking 11 exposed occupations, software developers included, found no significant wage or hours effects so far. So when someone confidently tells you, AI already killed coding jobs, that statement is running way ahead of the data. The accurate version is less dramatic, but more useful. AI is squeezing routine and junior coding tasks hard, while large-scale elimination of developer jobs just isn't well evidenced yet. That nuance matters if you're deciding whether to learn to code in 2026, because it's a fight worth having. So who's actually safer? Let's flip it. Who's most insulated right now? The pattern is clear, and it's a little counterintuitive. The safest work is built around non-routine physical execution, messy real-world environments, and high-touch human interaction. The OECD found that the least exposed occupations lean heavily on non-routine physical skills, with examples like dancers, fitness trainers, construction helpers, and reinforcing iron and rebar workers. In the U.S., BLS still projects strong demand for construction laborers, carpenters, and skilled trades generally. And when you think about it, this makes total sense. Today's AI is phenomenal at generating language and patterns on a screen. It is genuinely bad at crawling under a sink, navigating a chaotic job site, improvising when the materials don't cooperate, or physically caring for an unpredictable human being. Now here's the big asterisk I won't let you walk away without. This is about software AI. AI plus robotics is a completely different question, and it's moving, just much slower and much more expensively. So today's least exposed list is about commercially deployed AI right now, not some permanent guarantee about the robotic future. Care work and the demographics nobody mentions. Care work deserves its own moment, because the nuance here is easy to miss. Yes, some care jobs have exposed tasks, the paperwork, the scheduling, the documentation. But the core human work is stubbornly resilient. The World Economic Forum expects nursing professionals, social workers, counselors, and personal care aides to be among the biggest job creators through 2030. And a huge part of that is simple demographics. Populations are aging fast. BLS projects home health and personal care aides to grow around 17% over the next decade, with enormous numbers of annual openings. So if you ask, will AI change healthcare work? Obviously, yes. But if you ask, will current AI wipe out home care? The answer is no. Not with today's tools, and definitely not while aging populations are pushing demand in the exact opposite direction. The better label for a lot of these roles isn't safe or exposed. It's documentation exposed, core task resilient. The robot can write the chart note. It can't be the person holding someone's hand. The twist: exposed doesn't mean gone. Here's a subtlety that trips up almost everyone. And once you get it, you'll never read an exposure ranking the same way again. Some of the most elite professions on Earth are highly exposed to AI, and still very unlikely to disappear. The IMF's framework is excellent on this. Judges, lawyers, surgeons, all of them can use AI to process information, draft documents, surface precedent, analyze records. So, by the numbers, they're exposed. But they're also shielded, because society still demands a human carry the responsibility, the license, the judgment, and the trust. So a surgeon might actually be more exposed to AI assistance than a carpenter, and far less likely to be replaced outright. Let that sit for a second, because it breaks the simple high exposure equals doomed mental model that most coverage runs on. Exposed is not the same as gone. The elite professions are getting reshaped, not erased. What the layoff data actually says. All right, the question you've been waiting for. Are people actually getting laid off because of AI? The clearest source we have is Challenger, Gray & Christmas, the firm that tracks announced job cuts and now logs AI as a specific reason. In their February 2026 report, employers had cited AI for more than 54,000 announced layoff plans in 2025, and more than 91,000 cuts since 2023, when they first started tracking it. Then in March, April, and May of 2026, AI led their monthly layoff reason rankings, with May posting the highest monthly AI-attributed total they'd ever recorded. Now, the skeptic's caveat, because this is bit biased. Company-reported reasons are messy. We cut these jobs because of AI can be partly true, partly strategic, and partly a tidy story to tell investors, instead of admitting you overhired. So this isn't a clean causal data set, but it's still one of the most direct signals we have. And the trend line is pointing up, not down. File it as real and rising, just not gospel. The other half of the ledger. But here's the half of the story the doom takes always leave out. AI is also creating demand. IMF research using millions of online job vacancies found that roughly 1 in 10 job postings in advanced economies now requires at least one genuinely new skill, with the U.S. out at the frontier of that shift. PwC's AI Jobs Barometer, built on close to 1 billion job ads, found that jobs requiring AI skills kept growing, even as overall postings fell, and that wages are climbing faster in the more AI-exposed industries. So the real labor market signal isn't AI destroys jobs, and it isn't AI creates jobs either. It's both, unevenly, at the same time. AI is shrinking demand for some workflows while raising demand for the people who can work with it, and quietly pushing a growing share of workers up the value chain.
The people who win this aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones who move first, which is a pretty good argument for treating this video as a nudge, not just a watch. Why the forecasts disagree so violently.
This finally explains why every forecast you read seems to contradict the last one. The World Economic Forum says that by 2030, job disruption will hit around 22% of current jobs, but still projects a net global gain because it expects new roles to be created alongside the displaced ones. McKinsey models millions of occupational transitions in the U.S. rather than simple net destruction. The IMF warns that roughly 40% of workers globally sit in high-exposure occupations. And yet the best direct observational evidence so far, from Denmark, from OECD case studies, even from central bank commentary, still points to limited aggregate damage to date. These aren't really contradictions. They're answers to different questions. Some studies measure what AI could technically do. Others measure what's actually happening in the market right now. Some count only gross displacement. Others net out the productivity gains, the lower prices, the new products, the complementary demand. The disagreement is mostly about timing, adoption speed, offsetting demand, and whether you're measuring capability or realized outcomes. Once you know which question a study is answering, the contradictions mostly evaporate. So here's the bottom line, the part to actually walk away with. If your job is repetitive, text-heavy, rules-based, and digitally modular, assume the AI pressure is already here. Today, not someday. If your work depends on real-world physical dexterity, hands-on care, trust, or messy interpersonal judgment, you're more insulated, though never fully untouched. And if you sit in the middle, law, medicine, business analysis, software, the likely future isn't disappearance. It's redesign. Your title stays the same while the work underneath it quietly changes. Because the biggest labor market question for the next few years was never, will AI work? We already know it does, for a lot of tasks. The real question is, who captures the productivity gains? Who actually gets retrained? And who gets left behind while the job title stays the same and the work transforms underneath them without anyone announcing it?
If this gave you a clearer, less hysterical picture than the headlines, that's the entire point of this channel. Evidence over hype. Every time. Subscribe if you want more of exactly this. And tell me in the comments, which bucket is your job in? Pressured, insulated, or getting redesigned? Because in the next video, I want to take this further and rank specific job categories. Accountants, nurses, electricians, junior developers. By what AI can automate today, what it genuinely can't, and which skills will actually matter by the end of the decade. Drop the jobs you want me to put on trial, and I'll see you in that one.